What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're talking about pricing. When it comes to establishing your pricing and packages, this is something that can be very difficult, but today I'm here to save you all the stress and give you guys my formula that I use when it comes to actually sending out quotes and estimates, and actually how I go about pricing my services. When it comes to pricing my services, whether it's for returning clients, potential clients, or even freelance gigs where I'm hired on as a DP or a cinematographer or a BTS videographer, it all comes down to the same equation, and that equation is time plus value equals price. So how do I use this equation when going about actually pricing my work? So when it comes to deciding or figuring out what time is literally everything that requires you to get the job done, whether that's during pre-production, actually on set during the production of the shoot, and also within post-production when it comes to editing your photos or the actual video. All of that whole duration of time that you spent working, either organizing, the client's thoughts and ideas into a specific shot list or a mood board, like that's work that you're doing for the client. And then of course, when you're actually on set, when you're actually shooting, setting up different sets and scenes for the client, all of that time spent, whether it's an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour shoot, all of that is time allocated to that specific production. And then also when it comes to post-production, the time and hours spent sitting at the desk, editing photo after photo or color grading clip after clip after clip, all of that is time and hours and manpower or womanpower spent on a specific project, which you should be getting paid for. So whatever you price or whatever you value your time as, put that down. So something that I did when actually figuring out my price for like this structure is that I have an hourly rate, and that hourly rate also consists of a half a day rate and a full day rate. And depending on the length of the shoot, that's kind of what I set my minimum at. That if the client doesn't have this in their budget, then I may not be able to do the work that it is expected. Now, just because their quote or their budget and my quote don't necessarily align, doesn't mean that I'm not open for negotiation. Now, we'll get to that part a little later. How do you add value into a shoot, whether it's a photo shoot or a film production? So there are literally a number of ways to add value to make the experience for your client a lot more enjoyable and easier. So going back to the whole pre-production, whether you're a photographer or a videographer, if you're doing location scouting, if you're coming up with a mood board, if you're coming up with a shot list, all of those are specific hours that you're dedicating to the production. But that tangible asset of having a specific location, having a set number of looks and poses, or having that shot list down or that mood board down for you all to follow for set, come the actual set day of production, all of that is additional added value to make the whole ease of use when it comes to actual production day to go a lot smoother. Because nothing is more frustrating, both for you as the shooter and then also as for the client, if you guys aren't on the same page and are spending the majority of your time on set trying to figure out what you're going to be shooting when you actually could just be shooting that. So if you're taking the additional time and effort to make sure everything is organized and bringing in that additional production value, then that makes the overall experience for the client that much better. But also on the caveat of that, there's also a certain dollar value that comes with that value, because there are people, when you actually work in on a film set or in the industry, that people get paid for specific location scouting, and also production assistants who are in charge of handling the call sheet, making sure people are on time, making sure that we're all on schedule, making sure we have all the needed material and documents to make sure that the shoot go smoothly. So if you're able to do that as a one-person crew, make sure you're adding in, the price for that value as well. And then also, when it comes to the actual production of the shoot, whether you're a photographer or a videographer, if you're, renting out additional gear that the client may specifically want. I know particularly when it comes to certain film shoots, like clients may ask like, hey, is it possible for us to do this on a Red? Or if it's possible for us to do this on a C70 or a C500, then all of those requests are added value for the client if we're able to pull that off. But also, if we have to go out to a rental house and get that additional equipment or gear, whether it's cameras or lights or whatever, that additional added value in production also comes with a price that's allocated to that as well. And then also, when it comes to post-production, for the most part, if you're adding in additional edits, if you're a photographer, instead of maybe giving out 5 edits for an hour, let's say you give out an entire gallery for the whole 2 hours or an hour that the shoot was, where now you're editing 100 plus photos rather than just, 5 to 10 photos. So that additional, variety or package or gallery that you're providing is additional value for the client, because they now have a larger variety or a larger stockpile of photos that they're able to use for additional branding and advertising, which by you offering that is giving them more value for them be able to market themselves or their business. And then the same thing applies when it comes to cinematography and videography. If you have, a specific colors that you use to color grade out your footage, or if you, allocate or, use a third party to, sound design and mix the audio for you. All of these different jobs, whether you're doing them yourself or if you're, distributing them out to third parties, it's adding additional value, additional production value for your client, making their project that more professional, that much better than you doing it by yourself. But also from that value, again, there's additional price that is allocated for said value. So again, remember the equation: time plus value equals price. So earlier I mentioned the idea of negotiating with your client. So my advice when it comes to deciding whether you should negotiate on pricing is to consider 2 things. First, does the project align with you as a brand? So is the project, will it add value to your portfolio, or will it set you up for future projects doing something similar like that? Now, again, I'm speaking all from personal experience. So for me, there are times where I do negotiate with clients, and then there are other times where I'm kind of hard set on making sure I secure the dollar figure for me and my business. And typically how I go about deciding whether either to negotiate or not to negotiate is based off on the project and what the project is. So there are times where the project that I'm potentially going to work on actually fits and aligns with the body of work that I'm already doing, and kind of, aligns with me going further within my career. And then there are times where the work completely is somewhere left field, and only because I have a camera and I know how to use that camera, people ask me to do a certain shoot. So for example, let's say, project A is filming, a birthday dinner, and project B is, doing BTS on a documentary. So for project A, there's no negotiating, because a baby shower doesn't really align with my body of work as far as what I do currently and what I'm aspiring to do as a filmmaker. Whereas project B, doing the BTS for the documentary, aligns perfectly with what I aspire to do and what I'm currently doing. So depending on the deliverables, the specific deliverables and expectations for project B, I'm willing to negotiate. Whereas with project A, I'm not willing to negotiate, and whatever I quote you is what you can expect to pay. So that is how I go about pricing my client and freelance work. If this video was helpful for you in any type of way, please make sure to hit that like button. And if you aren't already, please consider subscribing to the channel to be notified for future videos, whether it's these tutorials, vlogs, documentaries, shorts, or whatever the case may be. But until next time, peace.